so lucky day for me today. I'm going to do some wheels and tires. The wheels and tires we have today, we have some 40-inch Pro Comp, and these are the Extreme Mud Terrain, or yeah, Extreme Mud Terrain 2. And we've got some Hutchison Rock Monster rims that we're going to put together. And we kind of went through some of the instructions, and we've put a couple of tires together ourselves, and then we're going to kind of go through the process with you guys and show some of the components that come with these kits. They're actually really simple to do, especially for us since we're not putting in a tire pressure sensor, and even that looked like it was pretty simple process as well. So don't be intimidated by these wheels if you get them. It's pretty straightforward. And these are DOT approved. So some of the parts that come with them, you've got your outer split rim piece, your inner, then you've got your beadlock, and you'll notice that there's a couple holes in these beadlock, or this beadlock, and on one side there's a small hole. That's where your tire pressure sensor would go, but we're not we're not doing that. So you've got that, and an O-ring. This O-ring is going to go on the outer portion, and I'll show you how to do that. And then we've got some hardware over here that comes with some double locking nuts and the hubcap. So to get started, what I'm going to do while everything's super clean, I clean the tire before, and it's a brand new tire also, and I still put soap and water on it, and scrubbed it down just a little bit on the inner portion. And what I've been doing is I've been starting with this O-ring, and I'll put it over here on the bench. And I've got a little bit of a mess here, so forgive me for that. Okay, so basically what we're doing with this O-ring is we're going to keep it clean, and we're going to try not to get any twist in it, and it's going to go in this groove slot in the outer rim here. So I'm going to use some Vaseline, and I'm going to get this coated on here. What this is going to do is it's going to kind of lubricate it and help seal, but it's also going to kind of help it set in that little groove portion of the rim. So it works out pretty good. I've been making sure that, you know, my fingers and everything are pretty clean when I'm doing this, because I don't want to get a bunch of dirt and gunk and grime. But I think if you're out on the trail and say you only get 4 of these rims and just carry a spare tire, you might make sure you have an extra one of these rings just in case something happens with it. But I don't see any reason why you couldn't install this out in the field. It's pretty simple and straightforward as long as you've got onboard air. Okay, so we're just gonna set that and leave that like that. And if you look on the inside of the rim, on all these, so we got a valve stem in between a double slot, so it's gonna be centered. And the reason I'm saying take note of that is because what we've been doing is you're just gonna take this beadlock, and it's got these 2 grooves in it. And so we wanna line up the groove on one side with this valve stem. So when we stick this inner portion into that rim, and you'll see later when we get it going, that it's gonna line up with this, and it'll help when you're airing it up. And on these tires, we're looking at this yellow dot here. And most all tires are gonna have these, and that's gonna be the light side of your tire. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and fold this up. We're just gonna stuff it in there. Then we're gonna get that lined up. And what we wanna do is rotate this. And so we've got that groove on the beadlock lined up with this line. And so we're gonna just put our valve stem down there. So even though it doesn't seem like it's any weight, it is weight, so it'll help with the balancing if we line up that valve stem with that yellow line. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and put this so that this is on the outside of the tire. And these are not directional tires either. So you can, doesn't matter which way you put them in, the rims, the tread pattern is always gonna be the same. So what I'm gonna do, since this is gonna be the back side of the rim, I'm just gonna drop it in here. And I'm gonna keep 2 studs in line with that groove. So they're gonna center over it. Now I've got a board on the ground over here, and it's roughly the length of the rim. So it's gonna give support on the rim when I flip the tire over. Okay. Now we've already got this all set, ready to go. We're just gonna take the wrapper off. We're gonna take this valve stem. And remember, we said we were gonna put it on the light side of the tire. And so basically, we're just gonna go ahead and line everything up and start pushing this thing down. Until we can get on one of these long studs. So we're gonna have 4 long studs. And those studs are long for a reason. As you notice, all of our other studs, they aren't poking through. It takes a little bit of pressure to start seating this thing down in to where we can get our hardware on these shorter studs. So what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna go ahead and take 4 of these lock nuts and just spin them on here. In the beginning, I'm gonna use an impact wrench to start bringing this stuff down, but I'm not gonna get real aggressive with this impact at all, because in the end, we're gonna torque this to a certain spec. It's gonna be 100 foot-pounds of torque. All right, guys, so we got a couple of these nuts on here, and we're gonna go ahead and snug these down, like I said, so we can see these studs, so that we can start putting some more hardware on here. And we're just gonna go in a star pattern. And you can also use some anti-seize on these studs. It doesn't hurt them, and will help from galling. But I'm just gonna snug these down. I'm not gonna get too aggressive on it. You can probably see, like on this side, we're not quite as proud on these studs, but we are a little bit more proud on this side. So I won't neglect spinning that down. I just won't hang out quite as long. Now it looks like we can go ahead and get some hardware on there and at least get 3 threads. So we'll just start putting these ones on. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and torque these down to 85 pounds to start with, and then what that's gonna do is it's gonna allow us to turn some of these by hand all the way down, and then I'll go to our final torque setting, which is 100 foot-pounds. Okay, max PSI, we're all bolted up now. Believe it or not, this thing will hold air. What we're gonna do is we're gonna blow this thing up to about 30 pounds and max cold PSI is 35 on these tires. So once we do that, get these all on the vehicle and everything, we're gonna take it for a spin for 50 miles. And then we're gonna re-torque all these studs, and then we're also gonna check torque on the vehicle itself with the lug nuts. All right, done. I don't hear any leaks. So we must have did something right.